When you've completed the modeling, materials, camera and scene layout, lighting, and animation for a shot, your final result will be rendered to a series of images on disk. And that's what this chapter is about, is rendering. When you render in production, you always render to an image sequence, a series of individually numbered still frames. And that's what you see here in my exercise files folder. Render output logo animation. And I can just page through this. We can see one of these frames one at a time. Why do we do this? Why don't we just render directly to a movie? Well, there are a lot of reasons why. For one, if you render directly to a movie file, then there's a good chance that if your machine crashes or anything goes wrong, the entire movie will be lost. Whereas if you render to individual still frames, then if something goes wrong, you can just pick up the rendering on the next frame. And this is really important, especially if the frames are taking a really long time. It's not unusual in feature film production for a frame to take at least a half hour to render just one frame. So it might take months to render your entire movie. Another reason why you would render to an image sequence is because if you render to a movie file can end up being very, very large. In fact, just at standard definition video, a minute of uncompressed footage is going to be almost 2 gigabytes in size. And that can get very unwieldy. If you've got a large image size or a long sequence, it can add up to be sometimes tens of gigabytes, and you can actually exceed the capabilities of your computer or file system or archive media. And for these reasons, you always want to render your final production to a series of numbered stills, as seen here, and then you can take it into some other program like QuickTime or After Effects or Final Cut or Premiere or whatever, take that image sequence into an editing or compositing program and use that program to compress it to a movie file.